Okay. Uh, First, welcome everybody. We're really excited to have you guys attend our first ACE session, which is our Ambassador and Community Education sessions. This is our first session, so bear with us as we start to work some of the kinks out. But, as we've positioned this and shared with all of our ambassadors, in the communication leading up, these ACE sessions are going to be regularly held enablement sessions for our ambassadors. And what these are going to be intended to do is to help enable and support the activities and endeavors that you as ambassadors have for your local communities. And I want to start off by saying thank you. I mean, it's the least we can do is to thank you for all of the incredible work that you've been able to do up to this point to help educate and evangelize the market about Hashgraph and Hedera. And I think that our ambassador program is easily one of the most valuable assets that we have as an organization. And everything that you do is a major impact on how we've been able to bring Hedera to market and how I think we'll succeed in the market. So, again, thank you very much. We were able to start to promote these sessions a few weeks ago, and the feedback from all of the ambassadors that wrote in, they were very excited for what we were going to be able to share and provide this open forum where you're going to be able to share any of the questions or concerns that you have, whether general questions to more technical. Also, any community feedback that you want to share, as well as your own feedback. We are very eager to learn from you, and are also really eager to have you learn from us. And in doing so, we're really glad to provide this kind of closed communication channel where you're going to have direct access to our internal teams. Today it's our community marketing and DA teams. For those of you that I haven't been able to meet before, my name is Andy Grant, and I am responsible for all of the community marketing efforts for Hedera, and that includes the ambassador programs and our meetups. And it's been really fun getting to know some of you individually as I've been on board. Some of you have been able to meet in person, and it's been a really exciting time to be a part of Hedera and to meet such an amazing group of people that really help to evangelize for us. So, based on the feedback that we got from the ambassadors that wrote in once we promoted the ACE sessions was, to start to help to level set and provide more context around what these ACE sessions are going to be and what you'll be able to get from them and what we'll share with you. So, let's start by diving into that. And for that type of overview, I'm going to turn it over to Greg, who's going to share some content around the ACE sessions and what you'll be able to gain from these and glean from them. And we're going to set aside, there's also a lot of requests for a more extended question and answer period. So we're going to leave more time on this first call to invite participation from all of the attendees to, again, share any questions, bounce any questions off of us as a team, and really, find out what it is you want to gain from the program and how we can make sure that we are facilitating what you're doing and enabling you as ambassadors. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to turn it over to Greg. He's got some a slide deck that he's going to share with you. And if we can hold the questions for after Greg delivers the content. But again, we want you to feel very comfortable bringing to us any questions or comments that you have. So, this is an open forum. And, you know, we want y'all to treat it like that. So at this point, I am going to turn it over to Greg and let him kick this off.
Cool, thanks Andy, and I guess thanks to both you and Alec for burning the candle at both ends and being up at midnight or thereabouts. Ken also. And so, yeah, so welcome to this first session. It's good to see we've got a good geographical spread as far as Singapore with Calvin, one of my colleagues on the developer advocates team, through to Eastern Europe, Greece, by looks of things, Switzerland, South Africa. I'm not entirely sure about everybody else's locations, but good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are. So as Andy said, we want these sessions to be sort of technical updates, provide you information or clarifications on questions. And we may do this through PowerPoints, we may do this through discussion, but we're trying to do the best we can to help you grow or help you grow your knowledge to help us grow the Hashgraph community and the Hedera user base. To do that, we'll use a common business model around communication. But based on communication, which you may be familiar with, which is Lean Startup, which is build, measure, and learn. So that's how we're going to try and essentially build your knowledge first of all, then figure out how well that's working through questions and answers, and feel free to hit us hard. That's what we're here for. To answer the tough questions as well as the easy ones, and then as a team we'll learn and try and improve on the process. So we may not get this right to start with. Frankly, I've never done this before, as in, you know, work on growing a large community of ambassadors. So anything that we can learn through these calls, we'll try and apply to the subsequent calls to make sure that we get, or rather you get, the most out of them. So, starting with build for today, we figured we'd cover some official terms. There are a few details that are important to us. Then look at some milestones that we're working towards, and then some technical resources that are becoming available. So, in terms of lingo or speak for Hedera, it's always good to start on a common understanding of the words. So if there's any confusion, we can go over those as or when I've finished with the slides. So Hashgraph, I'm sure you know, is the consensus algorithm. There's often a correlation between Hashgraph and Hedera, but Hashgraph is the algorithm. Hedera, on the other hand, is the only authorized public network which is built on Hashgraph. And that's what implements the services. It's the council. It's everything that makes the public network that runs on top of Hashgraph. We have a portal, which is a web interface for you to, or for anyone to engage with Hedera officially. And that's the only place for now where you can get an account on Hedera. HBAR is the cryptocurrency. Mainnet is the main network of Hedera nodes, as I'm sure you're aware. And testnet, on the other hand, is a network that we've set up to enable people to develop applications prior to developing them onto or deploying them to mainnet. As we move forwards, it may be an area where we deploy an upcoming version of Hedera software prior to deployment on mainnet for testing purposes. And open access, and this is quite important to us, may have previously been known as general availability, but we want to refer it to as open access, which is the point in time when users can start creating accounts on mainnet, and essentially mainnet becomes more widely available. A Hedera account is an account that holds your HBAR balance and allows you to perform activities on the network. And obviously, well, I say obviously, it may not be obvious to everyone, it's controlled by one or more key pairs, public key pairs. A Hedera profile is the profile that you create on the portal. And you may have multiple accounts on multiple networks. So the portal allows you for, or allows for multiple accounts on multiple networks per person. MirrorNet, and that, as you may have heard from Lehman on Hedera at Hedera 18, is a network of nodes that periodically gets updates from mainnet nodes. They can't create new events, but they enable, by propagating the hash graph on a wider network than mainnet, they potentially enable many different business cases that would not otherwise be available. The wallet is a piece of client software that you can use to manage your accounts, your keys, and your mainnet configuration. And finally, micropayments is a payment that doesn't require record on Hedera, which means it's a, well, it's a very small payment for which you may not want a proof that the payment took place, and it's therefore very fast, very efficient, and can be very low in value. So continuing with the build kind of ideas, we have live testnets. We have had them live now for several weeks, possibly even several months. I kind of forget. And access to the testnets is available by request through the portal. There is a link in the portal for requesting access to the portal. The mainnet early access will go live this month. And we will have APIs enabled and limited to cryptocurrency transactions. And the only way to create an account will be through the portal. It won't be possible through the API just now. We're planning or working on a micropayment demo surprise, which will come within the next few weeks in December. And we've also started significant work on APIs or SDKs rather in Rust, C, and Golang, all of which are available on GitHub. There are some examples and so on and so forth. And we have people who've started developing with those already. So in terms of resources, you may have seen two technical videos that star Ken Anderson, our lead or chief technical developer advocate. One is creating and verifying your Hedera portal account. So if you haven't done so already, or if anybody is asking you, how do I do this? The video is a great helper for doing so and going through all the different steps. And then there's a more technical video on how to get started with the Go SDK for a micropayment type of use case. And more detail around Golang, setting up your environment and doing some, well, I guess stuff that you can copy paste and read rather than watch is a walkthrough in Gist on GitHub. So on the last set of kind of building things, the old repositories are still there, github.com/hashgraph. The community Q&A, which I'm sure you're aware of, is also available, and Discord, which on Discord there is an ambassador role that exists within the Discord community. So if you flag us, either myself or Ken or any of the DAs, that you're an ambassador, we can put you into that role. And then we can potentially have a channel set up specifically for developer type discussions for ambassadors, similar to Telegram, but for development. Yeah, that's it. So build, measure, and learn. So for us to be able to measure how we're doing and to get a sense of how these sessions are going, we'll be asking you guys to ask your questions. So over to you. Any questions on what I've said? Floor's open. Go for it.
If anybody would like to ask a question, you go ahead and unmute yourselves. You'll be able to do that on the right-hand side, and I will mute myself to let you guys go ahead and start throwing your questions.
Yeah, I would like to ask. You mentioned that when you was talking about Lingo and you was talking about micropayments, and you mentioned that the micropayment is the payment that do not require record on the Hedera, and it was not clear for me what you have in mind by saying that.
Okay, so a record is a piece of information you can request from the Hedera network that contains a copy of your transaction, the keys that signed it, and so on, the consensus timestamp, and lots of information. It's there's a cost associated with getting a record in two flavors. One, you have to pay tiny bar to get the record, and there's a resource cost on the network. So for micropayments that are of very, very low value, it may not be necessary to get a record to prove later in time that you have indeed made that payment. It's such a low value that we don't anticipate anybody would pay possibly the same value as the micropayment itself to get a record. So and for them to be really fast and efficient, not getting the record is a lower pull on network resources. So that's what we mean by micropayment. If you're going to say a website, and instead of paying for advertising, or if you're going to a video stream and you pay by the minute or the second of viewing, micropayment, you may not want a record that that's happened, so it will be much quicker, much more efficient not to request one.
Okay, so now I understand, because it would be probably easier to understand if it would be, the word would be used as a receipt, not the record, because then the word record, I was thinking, so how can you make the payment without the recording on the main state? Like how that works?
Yes,
Okay.
Yeah. So it will definitely be recorded into state, and your balance will be updated.
Yeah.
And so will whoever receives the payment. I guess the point, maybe to take an analogy, is that when I go and pay for parking with my car, I don't necessarily want to get a receipt. It's a couple of euros, a couple of dollars, whatever. And if I do, hundreds of times, I never get one. But I do when I spend more significant money on something that may have a warranty.
Yeah. So the word receipt would be very much more easier understandable.
Right, except we have receipts as well, which you will get.
Okay.
So the record is more like an invoice, and then we have records with state proof, and they're an invoice with an official stamp from Hedera. So yeah, I understand the delta there in terms of terminology.
Okay. Thank you.
Good question. Thank you. Anyone else?
Hey, Greg, Miriam submitted 2 questions in the chat window. I don't know if you see that. Yeah,
I can.
Okay.
So we're aware, all developers. I guess we don't expect those of you who are not developers to become developers. It's perfectly okay for you to be ambassadors without necessarily a developer background. Maybe if you can't follow that demo specifically, if you can't, or maybe you can listen to it, but not necessarily try and repeat it yourself. You can talk about it to people in your communities. You can point them at the video if they themselves are developers. So we're really trying to reach out to as many developers as possible through yourselves and through our own social channels and community programs. But at the same time, we don't expect you all to be hands-on software developers. So I don't know if that answers your question. But yes, we've taken into consideration you're not all developers. The surprise, it will have to remain a surprise for now. But it'll be cool.
I have a question.
Yeah, sure.
Hi, Greg. Guillermo speaking.
Hi.
I tried yesterday to connect to the platform, and I'm going through the verification process. I couldn't do that. My question is, the verification is open for everyone, everywhere in the world, right?
I believe so. I'm not aware of any restrictions by country. There may be some, but that may be a question that we can take away and let you know. But as far as I know, there are no restrictions for registering, so long as your ID checks out.
Okay, and the second one is everyone who wants to go to the platform need to go to that verification process, right?
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
For now, the reason is that we Hedera will be rewarding those who participate on activity in testnets and through the surprise that we're planning in the next few weeks with actual HBAR, with actual coin. And for regulation purposes, we have to know who we're giving or rewarding with these coins. We can't do it to anonymous entities or people. So that's the reason why we need people to create a profile on the portal. That doesn't mean this will be the case forever, but at least while we're rewarding people, we have to.
And part of this, Greg, let me jump in, is because we are being very strict in how we are going to be enabling developers or participants to earn tokens. We're requiring that individuals complete the KYC process. And this is really mainly for us to make sure that we are adhering to any potential regulations or rules that might be put in place or can be considered by the SEC in the United States. So this allows us to have the highest amount of integrity with the different types of payments that are taking place on the network.
So you said you were having difficulties with creating your profile. Have you succeeded? Are you stuck somewhere?
Yeah, sorry. Yes, I'm stuck on the verification process. I send my passport, I send my ID, and nothing works. Maybe my photo is not good enough. I will try that again. No problem.
Yeah. So one thing you can do after failing or not being approved is email compliance@hedera.com, and we have a team that can sort of manually process the applications and validate them.
Okay, sure.
So, yeah, if you get stuck.
Just for information, I just sent the email to the address that the platform sent to me, which is contact@hedera.com, and I have a bizarre email from Google saying that that community doesn't exist. So just check that. Maybe there is a problem there. I don't know.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, we need to fix this then. But it should be compliance@hedera.com. Certainly, that was the last one I was aware of.
Okay.
I have a question. It's regarding, you mentioned that as of now, development is only allowed against cryptocurrency, but we still have two components to come, running smart contracts using Solidity and also access to the file storage. So
correct.
Timeline expectation for these two features.
On mainnet?
Sorry?
On mainnet or on testnet? Because these features are available on testnet right now.
I mean on mainnet, so that we can start talking in case of customers interested, for example. to use both of these features.
Sure.
We can say it's going to work by this time.
Well, so open access is planned for Q1 next year, 2019. So the expectation you can set is that by that time, those services will be available on mainnet. In the meantime, they have been available on testnet for several weeks. The Java API supports them. The Rust, C, and Go SDKs, not API, sorry, SDK. The Rust, C, and Golang SDKs are being updated as we speak, with support for those 2 additional services too. But when mainnet opens in the next few days, it will be limited to cryptocurrency operations.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. Pleasure. So there are a couple of questions in chat, which I'll take while I have the microphone, so to speak. So from Miriam, we'll be using Solidity. Expansion to other languages is in the back of our minds, but right now it's Solidity. Once we have open access and we feel there's a need to look at other languages, then that will definitely be something that we will consider. That's for smart contracts. Any other questions?
Yep, Roland speaking. I have a more political question that is happening at the moment in Switzerland. There are corporations starting to make events, and I already received from a startup, a possible customer, that they were informed very late about joining such events that are not created from the community but coming from corporates. Is it okay to access or to speak to them and ask to join and to organize more inline these things, or should these things be kept separate? Because politically, because of the of the 39s and so on. So.
Sorry, Roland, I'm not sure I understand. Are you talking about events and meetups that are advertised too late?
Yeah, that's as well, but it's events and official meetups announced by corporates, which are not in line with what the community is doing. So they are not on the meetup group, and we don't really have meetups showing these things. So my question is a little bit: is it okay to start including them into the community talks, or?
I would say that this would be kind of a case-by-case basis. So, Roland, I'm more than happy to set up a call anytime. We can kind of go over each individual meetup that you would like to participate in, or that they would like to participate in.
It's still not an answer to the question. So, or I understand your answer a little bit about we go case by case, but we already start to have community members who are not that amused that they learn so late or that it is not included. So at the moment, I have a little bit of, I don't understand why we have these separate pists. And if I'm a guy who is going straight through to these guys and just talk to them and try to integrate, but I don't feel any integration yet from Hedera, and therefore I'm asking openly: is this indeed things that need to be taken separately?
I'm just afraid I don't completely understand your question originally. I do apologize.
Okay. So I try to phrase it another way. Do we talk with each other, or do we not talk with each other?
Yes, we do.
Is the community supposed to talk to each other, or is this a community not?
Yes. Oh, okay. That makes sense. So, yeah, like local communities can obviously and definitely network with one another, and it's great that when communities can network at events. When it comes to our channels and community portals and such, the community members and the ambassadors frequently are in the channels communicating with one another. As for interaction with the team itself, like myself, Greg, and Andy, yeah, you have our emails, and we welcome your emails and such. Does that help?
Yeah, we can take it offline, no problem at all. I will see. So it's just 2 events. One is this week, and another one is next week. I will attend both. But both of these events are not part of the community yet, and we need to talk about how we organize that in the future.
I would like to get some more information on this. I'll definitely follow up with you afterwards.
Cool.
Thank you. Appreciate it, everyone.
Thanks, Roland.
I have another question. This is Sham Arfat. It's regarding the technical support. So some of us are technical developers and would like to get a kind of support directly from the developer community. So is this going to be sorted out for the ambassadors? So we have a technical contact from the developer team where we can go back and ask technical questions directly to get faster answers.
So you can, I mean, from a technical point of view, you can certainly connect with all the DAs on Discord, either in public if the question is good for the community as a whole, or in via PM, private message or direct message, if the question has a kind of non-disclosure agreement type of aspect to it, or business concern. And I've stepped into the Telegram channel for ambassadors from time to time to answer technical questions, and so does Paul Matson. So I don't know if you're part of those communities or those channels, but certainly Telegram and Discord, we are there virtually 24/7.
And Greg was able to share at the beginning of the call that any ambassador that wants to at least whether to watch or to participate in Discord, we do have an ambassador role available to anyone on this call that does want to ask questions directly to all of the DA team, which is what they can do on Discord. But alternatively, you can also just send the questions directly to the ambassador team, and we can absolutely take anything to the DAs that you want asked.
Okay, thanks.
This is Arvidas. I have a question related about Java language. When I'm in talks with the developers who are working on EOS, I usually get always a pushback saying that Java is not so efficient as C. And I wanted to ask and suggest for our technical guys to write some post or article comparing the Java and how it works comparing with C in this situation. For example, the EOS versus Hedera using Java and C. So maybe some comments on that.
Yeah, well, I guess I think I saw that conversation somewhere, maybe on Discord. I guess maybe yes, there is difference between Java and C. The efficiency of the algorithm probably outweighs the efficiency of running Java version versus C, in that the algorithm itself is highly efficient. So I'm going to be cheeky and say if 100,000 transactions per second isn't enough in Java, then I guess the problem is potentially elsewhere. I think this is more to me. This feels more like a technical discussion that doesn't necessarily have much weight in terms of It's a religious discussion, if you'd excuse me the analogy here, rather than necessarily a purely technical one. I think I've yet to see any other platform with our level of security reach 100,000 transactions per second or more. I'm not sure that's strictly a concern or shouldn't be a concern for someone jumping on the platform to develop. There's plenty potential there in terms of outright performance with all the added security that ABFT gives us.
Yeah, I agree with you, Greg. It's for me, it's obvious that it's like Hedera is faster and better, but it's like that, like you say, it's more like a religious belief in what he's saying. But it would be good to have a clear way how we answer to that comment.
Yeah. Okay. So maybe yes, maybe something that we can take. The difficulty for us is we try not to draw parallels with other platforms in our conversations or in our Medium posts. But I guess we can probably find a way to turn it that doesn't necessarily point at platforms that are written in C or naming them. Yeah. Okay. Point taken.
Okay, thank you.
Greg, I wonder if the question that you were just able to answer for Arvidas, the question that Miriam has in the chat may kind of branch off from that regarding how well other developers know the pros and cons of other crypto projects.
Yeah, so I was reading this earlier. So I guess not everyone knows about Hedera Hashgraph, right? Maybe, and also something that I've perceived in the meetups that I've attended, people know about Hashgraph from days of old when it was presented as a private permission ledger within the kind of Swells environment. And we've discussed this with the marketing team. There may be some confusion in the developer community that Hedera or that anything associated with Hashgraph is private, like a Hyperledger, for example. Whereas, as you all know, Hedera Hashgraph is a public network. So certainly I've been at meetups when I've said, who knows about Hashgraph? And half the room or more put their hand up. And when I asked, what do you know about Hedera Hashgraph? And it was kind of stunned silence. So I think that we, as Hedera, have some work to do to re-promote Hedera as a public network. And I know that the marketing team are working on this. But that, having that being said, it's not guaranteed that we'll reach every single developer out there. And there are also lots of developers who are wedded to a particular platform and who will not move on to another one regardless. But we're aware that there is potentially a perception issue around Hashgraph because of history, or Hedera Hashgraph, I should say, because of history, that we'll be working to fix. Any suggestions from you guys would be welcome, if you've any, on how we can improve this.
Greg, sorry, I have to interrupt by unmuting. This is Miriam.
Yeah, hi.
Hi. The question is, how well do developers of Hedera know the pros and cons of
right.
projects? Yes, this is my main question, because when it happens to someone else, it could be probably happen to your developers as well. So are you familiar with other projects? I mean, are you able to discuss and compare other projects and bring all the benefits of Hedera? This is my question. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Miriam. So are we aware of, I'm aware of some, I'm certainly not aware of all. I guess to the point I made earlier, certainly in public or anything that we do publicly, we try not to compare ourselves to others. You will have seen it in Telegram. We generally, or Manon or other folks on the Telegram channel will be sort of suggesting that people do their own research rather than us necessarily point at the flaws that exist in other projects. So maybe that's that approach, which we think is the right approach from an ethics standpoint, is not the best when it comes to evangelizing. So maybe there's something that we need to think about here. But we can certainly articulate, why we think Hashgraph or Hedera with its council is better than everybody else's. And I would like to think that our developers, or certainly the ones that we talk to on Discord, tend to be aware of the reasons why developing on Hashgraph is good compared to other platforms. So to your other question, Miriam, sorry, I misread this at first, and I thought you met a man in a field with a mobile phone. What he can do to implement on Hedera Hashgraph or business, I guess he would need to find. I suppose it depends. If he has a software development sort of team, then they can get educated on Hedera Hashgraph. If he doesn't, he can. I guess he'd do well to find a systems integrator that is working with Hedera Hashgraph, or to look for developers who do that. So on Discord, there is a DAP recruitment channel where somebody can say, "Hey, I'm looking to develop this. Is anybody interested?" This may be the more kind of modern model where you don't necessarily, I'm going to say, hire people directly, but work in collaboration with people around the world on a particular solution or problem. Or to contact us directly. I know Alex Godwin, Director of Business Development in London, is in contact with lots of businesses who want to develop on Hedera, and we may be able to facilitate a relationship between them and other development companies, or point them in the right direction.
I agree with you, Greg. Miriam, if it makes sense to put this individual in contact with Alex Godwin, that may be a good first step.
Okay, thank you.
So while you're pondering on your next questions, one thing I forgot to mention during the presentation earlier is that if ambassadors intend on developing on testnet and you haven't got access yet, then please register on the portal. Click on the request access link, and we will give you priority in the waiting list for access to testnet, so that you can try the SDKs for yourself, get familiar with the APIs, and be in a better position to talk to other developers about what can be done, maybe in local meetups or one-to-one conversations. So don't hang around. Register, and we'll put you top of the list.
This is Arvidas. I have one question related to the hirings. I noticed that the people that you're hiring for the protocol algorithm development is hiring only the swirls. Like everything else is hiring the Hedera, but the protocol development is hiring swirls. Maybe you just can comment or something at that.
Swirls is the company that's developing the consensus algorithm Hashgraph, and it licenses it for public deployment to Hedera, and Hedera is the only licensee for Hashgraph public deployment. So Swirls is still responsible for maintaining the consensus algorithm, and I presume that's the reason why Swirls is hiring consensus engineers. The services layer is developed by Hedera. That's the file service, the cryptocurrency, and the smart contracts. That's developed by Hedera, so it's virtually a different group of people, a different group of developers working on two separate but joined pieces of software.
Yeah, thank you. And other question would be, legally, could Swirls license some other public network? How? Because did Hedera plan to publish the contracts between Swirls and Hedera, where anyone can see what exactly is written in those contracts? How this licensing agreement works?
So that's a good question. I personally haven't seen the contract, but I'm sure that there is a clause in there. I would be very surprised that allowed Hedera to, or Swirls rather, to license to another public network. On the whether the council contracts will be made publicly available, I don't know, but it's a valid question. Maybe one we can take away, or somebody else can answer on the call if you know.
It will be interesting to see council agreements, but a question was about, did Hedera will publish a licensing agreement with the Swirls, between Swirls and Hedera?
Right. Yes. I guess it's maybe similar, but no, they're different things. Again, I don't know. Maybe this makes sense. We'll take it away and we'll see what is planned. Maybe it is planned for it to be made public. Don't know.
Okay, thank you.
But it certainly wouldn't be, I'd argue it wouldn't be in Hedera's interest for that to be possible. And I wouldn't be surprised if the contracts between the council members and Hedera specifically preclude the use of Swirls in, or the use of the Hashgraph algorithm in another public network. But we'll ask, we'll find out. Okay, we have 8 minutes to go. Any other questions?
Just Greg, real quick, just wanted to call out Mark's question about who to contact to get to the top of the list for a test net for everyone else. You don't happen to see the chat. Yeah, you reach out to anyone on the DA team, or if you reach out to somebody on the ambassador team, we'll forward it to the DA team. But if you've got a contact within the DA team, whether that's Greg or Ken or Calvin, you can reach out to them directly to get to the top of the list.
Yeah, and make sure you include the email address you've registered on the portal with, because it's not always obvious from a Discord or a Telegram handle. So make sure you let us know what the email address is you've used to register on the portal, and we'll get you top of the list.
If no one have a question, I would like to ask about the release of tokens, about the time that tokens will be unlocked. So if I am correct, at the first we're gonna have 360 million worth of tokens unlocked on the first days, and if my math is correct, so from the crowd sale we have raised around 100 million, and first unlock will be 20% of the fund, so that would be 20 million. So that means the rest, 340, something around 340 million, is from the seed investors. I'm interested what measures you plan to implement for release, for unlocking the tokens, to have a, I don't know, like smooth release, because if my math is correct, we have orders of magnitude price difference between seed and crowd sale.
So is your concern there that if too many are released at once, it will crash the price, or?
It could bring instability in the market, which our goal is to have a stability in the market in Hedera case. Yeah.
So the answer is I don't know. I don't know if anybody else on the call does know specifically. I tend not to get too involved in token stuff. I'm more into the technical side of things. But if we can't answer it on this call, then surely we'll take it away and let you guys know.
Yeah, I would like to get this because no one is able to answer me this question.
Yeah, we're taking notes on all of the questions that get asked tonight, and we're going to be posting these available for everyone afterwards.
Okay, so, great.
Arvidas, have you taken that question to Kyle and Tom?
Yeah, but it's not. I'm not getting the answer that I'm looking for.
Okay.
Are you getting an answer? Yeah, sorry, I jest. We'll see what we can do to get you the. I don't want to say the right answer because it may not be the right answer, but an answer.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
No problem. So there's a question from Mark. I just wanted to record it in audio, and maybe we'll take it away given the time that we've left, because chat isn't recorded. Could there be a clearer explanation on the basic mechanics of the network in terms of the SDK, i.e. operator, nodes, etc.? Maybe a diagram. Hyperledger have done something like this, referring to the Zero Micropay video. Yeah, sure. We'll see what we have that may be missing. We certainly have a better picture of the relationship between the internet, the algorithm, or the consensus layer, the services, the APIs, than what you've seen in our presentations to date. I'm not sure if that's probably not enough detail, but it's better. So Mark, we'll take this outside, or we'll deal with it later on, considering we're coming up to the top of the hour. So just to finish on the last slide of the presentation, so we said we wanted to build a measure and learn. So we've taken a measure of sorts, but we want to collect more of your thoughts. So feel free to send your feedback on the session, feedback on what you'd like to see in the sessions or hear from us, and any suggestions on how we can improve the format of these calls. So I hope it's been useful. I certainly have found it very useful, and I look forward to the next one. So thanks for taking the time to listen to us. And
let me jump in really quick.
Sure.
Really quick, Greg. And I'm very glad you popped these questions up. I actually have a session survey that I will actually can share the link with you right now. And if anyone would be so kind as to fill the survey out, we ask these questions, we'll collect the information. You don't have to put your name if you don't want to, but we do ask these questions, and it allows us to more formally gather your responses, and they're free form answers, so you can be as you can tell us as much as you want or as little as you want. Alec, have you got the shortened link?
Yep, gonna drop it in the channel right now.
If you don't mind dropping it in the channel, that would be fantastic. And we'll also email it out. But yeah, this would be fantastic for us to collect your feedback on this session, and just exactly how Greg laid it out, which was a lot better than I'm doing right now. But yeah, any feedback you have would be great. It'll be incredibly helpful for us to be forming these sessions as we go forward, and making sure that we are delivering the content that you want, and definitely taking your feedback to help us improve these as we go forward.
Thank you all for joining.
Yeah, just one last thing to Miriam. The surprise, you'll be pleased to know that if you're not a developer, it will apply to you as well. I can't say more, but yeah, it'll be for everyone.
Happy to hear. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Have a great day, everybody, or good evening, whichever. And let's talk again soon.
Thank you very much, Greg. Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody. Thanks. Yeah.